Thank you, all the organizer of this conference. So yes, I'm working at the Museo delle Civiltà, but also I work at the Istituto Centrale per la Demontropologia. I'd like just to mention this other institution, Italian institution, that is the institution referent for the process of safeguarding of the intangible cultural heritage in Italy, and in particular is working in the process of construction of networking activities with different communities. I have been collaborating with the Museo Nazionale Preistorico Etnografico di Roma since 2008 and in participative project. So today I'm talking about, this is the museum, and I'm talking about the participative process carried out during the exhibition, The Making of a Point of View, coordinated by Loretta Baderni and myself, at the Museo Nazionale Preistorico Luigi Pigorini. The Pigorini Museum is a national museum founded at the end of the 19th century, and in 2016 it was merged into the Museo delle Civiltà, a new institution that is self-resulted from the joining of 3 other national museums dedicated to Italian folk culture, the Oriental art, and the Middle Ages. So what kind of relationship is there between the Pigorini Museum and the intangible cultural heritage? Over the last 10 years, the ethnographic section of the Pigorini Museum has attempted to transform its practices through a series of initiatives that embrace public consultation, co-creation, workshop, and participative exhibition. We have carried out various projects that experiment with inclusive practices, engaging community and group in museums activities. Among them, the exhibition Soggetti Migranti was a pivotal moment in the process of renewing how otherness was represented and framed through ethnographic collection. It was realized in the framework of Switch project and another European project, and was aimed at proposing different interpretation of the cultural heritage by working with different diaspora community in a process of content co-production. So our aim was, was to represent participant cultural backgrounds and promoting the safeguard of the intangible cultural heritage of diaspora communities. So now I'm going to focus on the last participative project carried out during the exhibition, The Making of a Point of View, spotlight on the Indonesian and Malaysian collection. The exhibition was part of the Switch project. And here you can see all the museum of the network of this project, and presented for point of view on the Indonesian and Malaysian collection. And the aim was to deconstruct classical exhibition method, and to do that we explore many ways of displaying objects collected during the 19th century and mixing the languages of contemporary art, autobiographical narration, along with the historical and museographical approaches. So the final result was not a linear exhibition, rather 4 autonomous installations that were the outcome of the collaboration with different institutions, communities, and individuals. As you can see here, this slide shows all the partners that have been collaborating in the exhibition for more than 2 years, from the end of 2015 to the opening of the exhibition in February 2018. So you can see the MAXI, that is the National Museum of Contemporary Art of Rome, Civico Zero, a center for unaccompanied minor refugees, Lim, our Switch project artist in residence, and 2 galleries linked to him, the Embassy of Indonesia, and the social carpentry Kalma, who realized the structure of the exhibition. I don't have enough time to present all the project, in all its aspects, so I'm going to focus on the collaboration work we carry out with minor refugees and Indonesian student. So I'll give you an insight into the participative process, but before doing that, I'd like to show you some crucial points that animated our discussion during the Switch project. Over there you can see some questions that we asked ourselves before starting the process of collaboration, and our intention was to reflect on the status of ethnographical objects and collection and on the meaning of cultural heritage in contemporary world. Starting from these questions, we decided to create an engagement zone, or rather different engagement zones, each of them tailored on the participant and characterized by a variety of approaches and methodologies. So we consider the ethnographical object as a tool to reestablish relations between objects and people. Our aim was to put into questions the assumption that the meaning of objects is fixed once and for all, and to create an ethnographic project able to show the constantly evolving process that shapes the meaning, the social-cultural meaning of objects. So we decided to place the object under different lenses in an attempt to reveal how tangled, stratified, and dense they can be. And our aim is also to focus on the intangible dimension of the tangible heritage, collecting and presenting new narrative of the object and transmitting knowledge produced by the community involved. So to do that, we invited some representative of the Indonesian community in Rome to explore with us the Asian collection storage. We started in May 2015 with the involvement of 6 young students studying in Rome. Some of them were temporary students and others were second-generation Indonesians that live permanently in Rome. The 6 students selected objects from the Indonesian collection as a starting point to recount personal stories and experiences. In this case, the engagement zone was short in time, but it was very productive in terms of outcomes. All the text, the interviews, the images, and the item for the installation was produced by the students both individually and in groups during workshop held at the museum from May to December 2015. So all the materials recompose the bond between things and people involved. Our approach was aimed at finding an intimate and personal biography of the collection through the emotional resonance and through the transmission of knowledge linked to some elements inscribed on the representative list of intangible cultural heritage, like the Wayang puppet theater of the Kris, the ritual dagger, the Indonesian ritual dagger. In the final installation, different visions intersected, the personal interpretation of the young mediators who presented their vision of object directly to the public by a short video, the vision of other members of the Indonesian community involved by the mediators themselves, and the museographical description taken from the scientific literature. But some criticism emerged from this process. This different point of view did not always coincide. Rather, they made up a complex framework in which the meaning of objects is not already given. It is obtained through processes and relations that are constructed starting from the subjectivity of experience. So another engagement zone were created by the involvement of a group of minor refugees, the collaboration of Maxi Museum, and the mediation of the Civico Zero Center for more than 2 years. We worked on the transformation of the objects with the aim to integrate migration centers' education activities with Museums One. We found inspiration from an exhibition hosted at the Maxi Museum in Rome called Transformers, which allowed us to start a process of engagement and to piece together a dialogue between 2 cultural institutions, a museum of Contemporary Art and Ethnographic Museum. So we organized a program of workshops with minor refugees in collaboration with the Maxi Public Engagement Office. The participants were involved in a range of activities, including guiding tour, storytelling, and photography workshop. They explored the Indonesian collection, exchanging views with curator, the artist residents, and created a shared narration among the two institutions. In particular, through the mediation of the camera, the youngsters redesigned their personal relationship to museum spaces, creating a collective photo map of their viewpoints, impressions on the collection. The workshop then led to the creation of three-dimensional collages, so the teenagers transformed the museum's Indonesian and Malaysian objects, breaking them down and recomposing them according to a new perspective. In the final installation, we presented museum object as an educational tool, a means of socializations and mediation, as well as a starting point for self-expression. So in conclusion, I'd like to share some pros and cons emerged from our practice of collaboration. So, through the participatory process, we experimented different ways to interact with the ethnographic heritage, using the languages of contemporary art and autobiographical narration as tools to imagine other destinations for ethnographic objects. The collaborative process allowed us, and in particular the museum staff, to go beyond an object-oriented museology and go beyond an essential notion of a heritage, through which ethnographic museums have built their own representation on their theoretical paradigm, often giving unique and Eurocentric vision of the represented culture. I think that we succeeded in offering to the museum public a multivocal exhibition which gave a shape to a different points of view, including and representing knowledge, vision, in a way the intangible cultural heritage of the participant. So the main positive outcome was the recognition that we all have something to say about objects, even if they are not part of our cultural and identity heritage. We can observe them, manipulate them physically and conceptually. Concerning the critical points, one of the unsolved issues is the representation of the process of collaboration. We found it very difficult to give the public an idea of the complexity of the collaboration with all its ups and downs. We wanted to tell something about the participative process, but without exploiting the stories of the teenagers and students. So some questions arose concerning how to avoid the risk of giving just a reconciled representation of the collaboration, how to design an exhibition that doesn't hide conflicts and friction. Are public interested in the community engagement process while they are visiting an exhibition? A second criticism is about the continuity of participative practices. The engagement zones we created did not involve the museum as a whole. It did not become part of the ongoing museum practices. So the participative practices are occasional and tend to create relationship around a specific and temporary project, with the result that when the project ends, it's difficult to maintain a dialogue within people involved. My last remark is more general. It concerns the difficulty in promoting durable measure of safeguarding intangible cultural heritage in the context of diaspora community. In Italy, diaspora community usually don't demand more involvement and representation to museum. This, of course, is an issue that we need to face in order to build a more balanced relationship. This way, it's always the museum that sets rules and shapes the participative zone. The other actors are just invited and create a fleeing community of interest around our project. And this, of course, influences the quality of the relationship between museum and diaspora community. So I'm going to leave you with a final question. How can we build more balanced relationship in an unbalanced context of encounter? Thank you.